Before someone Googles you, they're probably going to check your TikTok, your Instagram, and kind of just see how, like, your Instagram or your social media channels, like, they're your business card ultimately. That's how I look at it. People are going to take kind of that, your first kind of 9 posts on your grid, and they're going to form an opinion or a perception, and sometimes that's going to make them sway them one way or the other. Am I going to go to this place? Am I going to try it out? Am I going to maybe do a bit more digging? There's so much happening, and it's such a saturated industry that your community, I think, is going to be ultimately your USP. Like, that's what's going to lock people in. The kind of overarching message is, like, you know, we have the clients in mind, and we, you know, like, this is for you, and people feel like their needs are being met, their kind of questions or problems are being answered, and, you know, the studio's listening to them. People don't want to be sold to. They want to be talked to. They want there to be, like, open dialogue and conversation, and your social media should be fun. Like, your post should either educate or entertain.
Hi, Huda.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I've been looking for someone to come and talk about marketing in the fitness space and sports marketing. And I'd love to get your input on that, given your experience in the space.
Yeah.
But before we do that, why don't we give the listeners and viewers a bit of a background about yourself?
So I've been in Dubai about 7 years. I always lose count. I think 7 or 8 years. And I've been in doing marketing, I guess, for, I would say, pretty much the whole time I've been here. I did my undergrad in public health, and I did my master's in strategic comms and PR. And so my goal with that was to do health communications. And when I moved here, I just kind of found myself in not really the public health space, but more in the fitness and wellness space, and drawing parallels. You know, public health is still somewhat relevant there. You can draw parallels and comparisons, but yeah, it was a little bit different than my original path I saw for myself. But so yeah, I've been doing different, been in different roles for the last 7 years, and yeah, it's really fun.
Okay, and anything in particular that stood out for you in marketing in the fitness space that you saw was different from what you learned from the books?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really, I guess marketing, it's a very broad term and topic, and there's so much that falls under marketing. And my world is kind of more social media and digital marketing, and I like traditional marketing and like the number side of it. I'm not like, that's not really my strong point, but like social media, communications, copywriting, these kind of, like, I guess the more creative side is where I find myself and what I enjoy. So it's very different actually to what I actually studied, because I did comms and PR, and it's relevant and it helps, and I still kind of I come across certain situations today where I remember something in a lecture or you know, something that I came across in a conversation, and you know, it's really valuable to kind of, you know, I'm like, okay, my money wasn't fully wasted. So yeah. Yeah,
but I mean, I know there are a number of topics that we want to touch on, but I want to maybe spend a bit more time on. You mentioned social media and like perhaps the channels that are needed, right, in order to be successful, I guess, in the space in marketing. And how important is social media, right? It is the most important channel, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. It's, you know, email marketing is also important. Even though we're flooded with them daily, I think it's still important to kind of stay at the top of people's inboxes and thoughts. And, you know, when they are scrolling, like, your name pops up. You don't want to fully fall off the grid in that respect, but social media is huge. And I think that these days it's used, you know, like we know it's more of a search engine. And before someone Googles you, they're probably going to check your TikTok, your Instagram, and kind of just see how, like, your Instagram or your social media channels, like, they're your business card ultimately. That's how I look at it. And that's how people are going to take kind of that, your first kind of 9 posts on your grid, and they're going to form an opinion or a perception. And sometimes that's going to make them sway them one way or the other. Am I going to go to this place? Am I going to try it out? Am I going to maybe do a bit more digging. So yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think Google, I suppose, isn't enough to get the visual sort
No.
of feel, right? And
No.
and or the feel, I guess, of the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see the reviews. That's about it.
Yeah.
But in terms of your voice and your it's your voice. I guess that's the best way to put it. And who you are, what you represent, and how you present yourself online. Are the pictures super amateur? Are they unprofessional? Is there a cohesive kind of look and feel? All these things, whether subconsciously or consciously, like people notice. So yeah.
The space, the studio, does it have the right equipment? How are the people that are training there? Are they
What's the crowd like? What are the classes like? Who are the instructors? Who's the staff? Like, who are the people behind the brand? I think there's more interest in knowing like the people behind the story or behind the mic, or people are less interested in kind of a transactional kind of experience. So they go to your socials to check and to see, and they want the tea.
No better platform than, I guess, Instagram
Yeah.
and social media, with all the video formats and immersive images. To get a proper, I guess, sense on what the place is about, and who are the people that train there, and the community that trains there. And this is, I think, a nice segue for us to jump onto this topic of community and its importance in marketing a fitness space, right? And how it drives, I guess, loyalty, right? At the end of the day, why do you think it's important? Why is community such an important aspect?
Yeah, I think, well, it's so competitive now, and there's new studios, new concepts, new like run clubs, and there's so much happening, and it's such a saturated industry that your community, I think, is going to be ultimately your USP. Like, that's what's going to lock people in. I think most people, at least, I think there are some outliers, but most people aren't going to stay for the workout alone. I think they want that kind of sense of belonging. They want human connection. There's like a FOMO factor with community, like whether it's, like a merch, like the hoodie drop or something, or going to the run club. It's like people want to be a part of the buzz. They want to be a part of the hype, and a lot of like efforts that are made and things that are done to drive community or to foster that kind of environment, I think, like, it's so Instagrammable, and like
also as well, right?
People posting, people like talking about it on socials, and word of mouth really, like, it carries. And so people are like, where was I? They like that, and I think they ultimately want to be a part of it. And the other thing is, with Gen Z, like, we've seen statistics on how their alcohol consumption is like just declining like crazy in comparison to millennials and like older generations. And
really,
like the wellness kind of hype and trend is on the rise. And you see it with brands like, I don't know if you know, like Liquid Death, like it's sparkling water, but it looks like a beer can. And things like this, where it's like they still want to go out and socialize and enjoy themselves, but not always feel pressured to like drink and party. But it's kind of a status thing, and like it's optics really. And so that was just a small example, but I think like with the whole wellness trend on the rise, and people paying more attention to their health and what they do to improve their health, it's just it creates that social aspect to it, and it doesn't just seem like a chore. So now people go to studios, they go to classes, and it turns into like a catch up with their friends. Let's do this class and then get a coffee or a smoothie or something after, and so I think it's less about the workout, and sometimes it's like, well, what else do you offer? So I think
so there's a growing demand, I guess, for a fitness outlet and a community obviously around it. I was under the impression that it's more millennials that the biggest audience in this space. Maybe they still are, and Gen Zs are sort of, you know, growing into it. Because I feel like it takes some level of maturity for someone to commit to working out, to training regularly, to invest in training.
Yeah. Millennials, I think, are still part of the conversation. I think they're definitely still a huge part of the audience and the market share, I guess. But Gen Z is definitely like they're taking over.
Right.
Yeah.
I can tell, like from when I go to these events like High Rocks, for example, and I compete in different age groups.
Yeah.
I once partnered up with someone who was in the Gen Z category, and it was much easier than the millennials.
Yeah.
Than the 30 to 37 was much more competitive.
Yeah. You know what I think it is also? It's like they grew up on social media, whereas we didn't. Like that kind of came late in the game, and we were already in university when Instagram became a thing. And I think like them getting online a bit younger and seeing like fitness content is like flooding. Obviously, your algorithm ultimately, like people see what they're interested in, and not saying fitness is going to be on your page regardless, but I do think that might be part of why, like they grew up seeing these fitness influencers more, and maybe not so much like it wasn't always like a specific fitness account or a personality that like is a trainer or only posts about their workouts or whatever, but it might just be a normal influencer who does train, and they just like the way they look, or they like how they dress, or they, you know, they tend to kind of emulate these habits.
Yeah. So and back to the power of community, what would you say are like ways to create this community, to build a strong community, whether it's online or offline?
Yeah, I think offline is where brands should be focused more on. Online communities, like I think it's very surface level, like replying to comments and you know, like shouting people out or reposting their stories or things like that. So they feel seen and they feel like acknowledged. Yeah. But again, these are very surface level. These things aren't going to be like what people talk about. Offline, I think there's so much you could do with events, with collaborations, with like off-site events. You know, do a session on the beach and then collaborate with a cold plunge place and do ice baths, things like that. Or, you know, maybe a HIIT studio collabs with a yoga studio and they do kind of a hybrid event. Nice. Things like that. And again, like I said, like create that FOMO in a way where you document these things, and the merch and the retail, and like people want to take a picture in it and tag you, like little things like that. Yeah,
free merch maybe.
Like, and or like, even not free, like just release something that looks just really sick, cool. And people want to they want to be the first to you know.
I think it's about value exchange at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be free, it could be paid, but it can be exclusive, for example.
Exactly. That's going back to the FOMO thing. It's like, you know, we're only releasing 5 in each size or 10 in each size, and people are like, I need that, you know. So the exclusivity, I think, really again kind of makes you feel a part of something, and like you're in, like you're it's just that you're
special.
That's really what it is. They just want to feel special.
And then online is a product of this offline sort of event, right?
And just being able to post about it and tag the studio and be reposted on the page, or even like as a brand, including your clients in your content somehow, whether it's in a video or, you know, like just in like posting something relatable where clients will see themselves in that post, or there's different kind of ways to tap into like the relatability.
Right. How does this work, by the way, when the main account, the studio account, for example, tags the customers? Does that work? Because I feel like they would like to, I guess, get that exposure from the fitness account, and vice versa as well, right? It works both ways. So the customers also tagging the fitness studio account also helps with exposure to their networks as well.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
It's like a sort of a win-win situation.
Yeah, 100%. It's like with the studio tagging clients, or like obviously there has to be consent to film and to post something, and if it's kind of a video or a post focused on one person, then it's probably going to be a bit more planned out, where like, okay, we're going to film something like this, we need you to do this. They're going to, and usually social media managers will know, they'll kind of be immersed in the studio and the culture of the studio. So they know the people that are coming in every day, and they know who to choose for certain posts.
Okay.
So yeah.
And so this is, it is something that is planned, can be planned.
Yeah,
because
I think
it
has
works.
to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
I think when it's random, you can tell, and when there's just no like thought process really behind it, and it's just slapped together, you can tell. And
right.
You want to definitely plan things out in advance and make sure that everything's going to make sense and have the positive effect that you ultimately want. You want engagement, you want shares, you want people to repost it, or they want to maybe be a part of the next one. So yeah, definitely you need to plan it.
Yeah. So and I did want to ask you, like, how effective is this?
I think it's very effective from what I've seen, and with the different clients that I've worked with. Like, you have to, again, they're paying for a membership or a package, and like something as little as acknowledging them on social or including them in a campaign, or maybe not like, I choose this person to be in this. It's not necessarily like a
planned.
Yeah, like it's not like I'm singling anyone out, but the campaign or the kind of overarching message is like, we have the clients in mind, and we, like, this is for you, and people feel like their needs are being met, their kind of questions or problems are being answered, and the studio's listening to them.
They have the support
exactly
they need from studio.
Because if they have just complaints and things that they notice every day, and something bothers them, or why am I paying and this is happening, like it feels like, okay, now there's a mismatch, or it's not balanced anymore, value for money and experience. Like, now my quality of my experience has gone down, and I'm paying this much, like, so listening to them so that the scale kind of tips back is crucial. I think you'll lose a lot of people if you don't listen to who's coming in every day.
But I also feel like sometimes it becomes more about the social media I guess exposure, and less about the workout itself.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's always going to exist, and I think being in Dubai, we come across that so much, where they do it for the gram. They're not there really to train, and but as a business, it doesn't matter. Like, the social media exposure, it's not a bad thing. If people are coming in, they're paying, like, it's a foot in the door, and that's a win. So everyone's going to go about their kind of journey in a different way, and document it in a different way, or not document it at all. But I think the important thing is perception, and online you're doing the right things, you have that kind of community vibe. And for me, like, social's important just to be like, just know what trends to hop on, and how to make them relevant to your brand specifically, because something will go viral and everyone's talking about it, or a meme is like going crazy, and you can recreate things that, like, in pop culture that are trending or whatever it might be, and adapt it to your brand, adapt it to your concept, and like, people love it. It just creates that buzz, and ultimately it drives engagement, which is positive. It's always positive. Yeah,
it's not just all about serving or posting content of clients training, or relying on clients to post content and reposting that to get that exposure from social. There is work that needs to be done in posting other type of content also as well. Content that, as you said, is relevant today with the trends that are happening. I don't know if you guys ever, if you recommend also trend jacking, for example,
Yeah.
right? I think probably, right, is something that you would consider in order to create that engagement.
Yeah.
And that's also important, right, in
Yeah.
the fitness industry,
Yeah.
because I feel like there is a lot of value that comes from the content that you can get from clients and the exposure and the effectiveness of that, but that's not enough.
No, it's not. But it's also better to have it than to not have it.
Yeah.
Like UGC is also super important, and like whether it's an instructor participating or whether it's a client who, you know, creates a nice video and you want to repost it, like it's just, you know, and then we've been, as a studio or as a brand, we've been like relieved of creating a new video. We that was, you know,
Yeah.
we just got their permission to repost, and then they're like, oh, amazing, like this place reposted my video, and they feel special.
How effective is this versus a planned out content, branded?
Well, I think UGC should be a part of it. So I
Yeah.
don't think that you should rely fully on UGC or like
Yeah.
the content that comes from your clients or anyone external.
Yeah.
So I think weaving it into your own strategy and your own content, I think that a brand should own 90% of its content, and then the other 10%, you know, reposts, and like it also depends on the brand really, and what they do, what the sessions look like. Because yeah, it's really tailored specifically to each concept.
Yeah, and to wrap up the impact of, or the importance of community. So we said it is very important, and people do want to belong, right? And for us to, I guess, build a strong community, you do need to think about offsite activities. You do need to think about sort of exclusive, unique experience, maybe merch, or maybe like, you know, small little events here and there, competitions. Get people to sort of, I guess, also connect. I think during the training is also, I think, an important one, right? Because you do want to sort of find ways to break the ice and get people to become a community.
Yeah.
And also like the social element is helps with building or fostering this community, right? Tagging the clients, you know, creating content, collaborating on UGC as well. Did I miss anything on community? Any example would you like to, do you have in mind that you would like to share that is a good reference, maybe perhaps?
Yeah, I think one, I'm a runner, as you know, and I used to run with Inner Fight, and they, I think, do an amazing job at like fostering this kind of community and feeling of belonging, and, you know, like all of their group runs, their group sessions, you know, they'll make group chats for whoever you're coaching with. If you're with this coach, you're in this group chat, you're in this coaching group chat, like, and, you know, apart from the runs and the running activities that they do, they'll do like, you know, a Christmas workout every year, and like for their community members, and or like at Ramadan, like iftar, like they'll have their community members, and like I think they do a really good job at practicing what they preach, and also you know, making, like, for example, we'll have a session planned, and, you know, we have our run for the day, and it starts at 5:59 a.m. Like they're very specific with the timing, and the coaches will have done it an hour before us. Okay. So literally in the middle of the night, like we get to the track and they're done, and then they coach us through ours, like, and they know how, you know, there's something very comforting and kind of like you're more at ease knowing when, okay, your coach just did this. They obviously at a very different level, but at a very higher level. But they know how to coach it. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. They literally like live, breathe everything that they're saying to you, and they're not just kind of selling you something because their manager is telling them like, this is what you need to say, this is what you need to sell, these are our quotas or whatever. And so I think that like the coaches and the people that are running the sessions, The fact that they were so immersed in our sessions, in the client sessions, and doing stuff with us and doing the sessions basically side by side, it's nice. Like, again, it goes back to kind of humanizing the experience and knowing the people behind the brand and knowing the coaches.
Okay.
So I found that very positive with my experience with them.
Okay. Yeah. It makes total sense, I think, and I really like the part about around leading by example.
Yeah.
As you said, like the coaches training ahead of the session, and I guess walking the talk, right?
Yeah.
Cool. And so the next topic is marketing fitness as a lifestyle, not a product. And I need you to elaborate a little bit more. What do you mean here as a lifestyle and not a product?
So it's, again, I'll go back to the example of people moving away from experiences that are very transactional, and they go to a run or they go to a session, they go to a studio, they do it and they leave. Like, I think people are less interested in that kind of experience. Again, not speaking for 100% of people, but I think most people now they want the human interaction. They want to stay and have a coffee after. They want to have a smoothie. They want to take class with their friends and make it a social event. And so, like, the lifestyle aspect of it is not necessarily what happens in the session or in the room or in this, like within the the service that they offer or the type of class that they offer, but it's like, what are they doing outside of there? And like, an example I always use is Red Bull. Like, when you go to their Instagram, you don't see a single can of Red Bull. They're selling the lifestyle of, thrill and, the skydiving and doing crazy extreme sports. And so it's like creating something that people can relate to and that people want to be a part of, and people that and things that they associate themselves with. And it's super important to define that and to know what that is, because ultimately that's going to be your voice. If your page or your channels are filled with, book now or buy now, or like, people don't want to be sold to, they want to be talked to. They want there to be like open dialogue and conversation, and your social media should be fun. Like, your post should either educate or entertain, like, and in a way that's not aggressive and salesy and just trying to get you to, the caption sounds like it was written by AI. They want something real.
It feels like I don't know why I've thought about before and after content, and how it's a little bit rigid. Maybe
so,
it's more maybe on the service and product side.
It's funny you mention it, because I'm actually, like, with transformations and before and after these kinds of stories, I can't stand them, because yes, sometimes someone can have an amazing story and an amazing transformation, whether mental, physical, whatever it might be. But I find the way that people execute the storytelling of that, it's so staged. And, we're going to give you 3 free classes to put on this mic and tell us, you lost 10 kg and you were made to feel at home at your first session and you were hooked by the first one. And they all sound the same. Like, they're very generic. And I think generic content is just going to kill your engagement, going to kill your kind of your spark and your it factor. It's just like, oh God, another one, So I think there's other ways to, like, get involved in that storytelling and still highlight that client or highlight that transformation, but in a way that's a little bit, more just real and, doesn't feel disingenuous when they're sitting and just recounting their story. So it's funny that you mentioned that. It's how you execute it, I think.
Maybe it's effective to see the end product. If you look at a post where it's literally before, and after, right? And you see the image of a client, with his or her or his shirt off before and then after, and you see the difference. it may be effective, but it's very dry. And I think there's, as you said, there's a lot more that could be told, be said, you know, about this, the journey that, you know, this customer went through. And maybe also not just the transformation that that customers had on his body, but also on his life, right? And lifestyle, and how that has impacted his life outside of training, right? His relationships, potentially, you know, maybe his performance at work. So these are things that, you know, I guess could be relevant to talk about in a before and after type of content.
And again, it's how you set up the, like, what's the setup? Because like sitting, like you and I are sitting now and, you know, having a client talk about it, it's very flat. It doesn't go anywhere. People kind of tune out. So it's like visual storytelling, and also like the script, and maybe not even having a script, because I think that's also what makes it feel staged, is you can tell it was just like, you have to sound very pro, you know, it's propaganda. So it's just how you go about it.
It's very delicate, huh? Because it does feel staged immediately when there's a mic and a camera, you know, and you're asking a customer to give you a testimonial. You know, I would definitely tune out immediately. Because
I think also knowing, like, because I know how, you know, I've worked with studios where the owner, the manager, whatever, wanted to have these kinds of videos on the page, and I always fight it. I'm like, please no. So it's like, it is important to tell these stories and highlight them, but, you know, to do it in a way that's a little bit more engaging and gets the message across, but doesn't feel, because that does in a way feel salesy. Like you're trying to sell me your product or your studio or your package because this person had this amazing experience. And, you know, that's another thing to highlight, is everyone's journey is different. Everyone's going to these studios and workouts for different reasons. It's not always to lose weight or to look a certain way, you know?
But social testimonials are important, I suppose. But I guess they need to be delivered in a certain way. They need to be genuine. And I think that touches on the storytelling part, right? Of marketing fitness as a lifestyle. It needs to be genuine, and I think we covered this part really well. The customer journey, testimonials, the campaign that evoke emotional connections, right? They need to come across genuine. You can't really deliver that in a studio, in front of a camera with a mic, you know, with a stage or a setup. And just to close on this topic, what role does social media play in shaping fitness as a lifestyle, right? Is it again UGC or maybe is it behind the scenes content?
It's not always UGC. I think social media provides the platform for you to kind of showcase what is the lifestyle you want to promote or be associated with. So it's just kind of a means to an end, I think, and getting a message across. And I think everything's nowadays it's done on social, and I would say it's very important.
Obviously, for you to deliver that type of content, you need the immersiveness of social. You need audiovisual formats. You need video. You need sound.
Well, at the same time, you can create really good content on your iPhone. It's good to have kind of great, like high quality productions and cinematic kind of like videos. But I also think, again, people are more interested in the raw kind of real feeling of, you know, what it is you're posting about. Like when everything feels super polished and edited, and it kind of, people are like, like, what do you really, what's going on? Like it's just not, there's a time and place for it, is what I say, for like high level campaigns, or, you know, something like a big sale or whatever it might be. it's important to have the professional quality and the mics and the nice camera and the like, professional editing. But you can create like some of like posts I've seen that have done really, really well and have just created brought on the most engagement were iPhone productions. It's very simple, just hopping on some funny trend and people love it.
Yeah, but I think there's still probably a need to develop something that is a little bit more edited and more high end, right? To help with strengthening the brand, as opposed to you wanna try to deliver something that is more unique. Others can't really deliver on, right? Something that probably requires a budget, and I think that helps somehow with the credibility or with strengthening the brand, because at the end of the day, from a consumer perspective, it needs to be obviously if a video that is fun to watch, I guess, that is that evokes emotion or FOMO, as opposed to iPhone based content or UGC. But I'm not saying that the iPhone content doesn't work. I think it should be a balance, probably, right?
It also doesn't have to be one extreme or the other, right? Like it can be, you can get mics on Amazon for like 25 dirhams that work quite well, and still kind of level up your quality and be, it doesn't have to be pixelated. And like people who've worked with me know, like I'm a bit crazy when it comes to posting quality. And again, just because it's on a phone doesn't mean it's low quality. And there's apps now that you can edit photos in a way that like doesn't maybe necessarily look, oh my God, what a professional, like it was taken on professional camera, but you level it up, you clean it up, you can kind of, you have to fake it till you make it. And I think it just adds kind of, like you said, having a mix of both and having that variety of, super high-end kind of quality polished content. There's a time and place for it, but most of it is, like UGC, filmed on an iPhone, photo taken on an iPhone. But with videos, like the audio quality has to be there, but you don't need a mic like this to do it. You can get very affordable equipment that can help just kind of. And have you seen those new lights that you clip onto your phone?
No.
It's insane. It's like a studio light, clips onto your phone. I have it I take it everywhere with me.
No way.
It's good.
But you use it in broad daylight as well?
No, like if it's natural light, I usually will just let the sun do its thing. But if I'm indoors, the light is like, it's really good.
Yeah. But if you're in a dark studio, for example,
it's great. Because so many studios now as well have the dark lights and the like colored vibe, and it just helps. I'll show you. It's super nice.
All right. Okay. Cool. And then to go on to the last topic, which is the challenges of marketing wellness in a competitive market. So we did say that it is a competitive market today. There is growing demand from different audience groups. Millennials, obviously, they're growing a little bit older. They want to make sure they live a little bit longer. Gen Zs are also turning to fitness, and so there's growing demand. There's a competitive market. What are the challenges? You would say the biggest challenges of marketing wellness? And in Dubai, in this scene here?
I think it's the biggest challenge is standing out and communicating effectively. What is your it factor? What is your USP? And going back to community, I think that's usually the differentiating factor, because so many concept studios, run clubs, whatever, like they're so similar, you know, they offer the same type of class more or less. And yes, you know, there's little nuances and differences that ultimately make them what they are, or like, okay, they don't want to fully copy this brand, so they tweak this. But really, like, you're gonna do some cardio, lift some weights in a HIIT class, whether you know the machine might vary. You know, reformer Pilates is like the most popular trend of 2024, and everyone kind of hopped on that. And I can't count how many studios popped up that are, you know, like the new hot reformer Pilates studio, and man, they blew up. But how do you stand out in, you know, this like sea of sameness? I think it's community, and I think it's your social media, your online presence. That needs to be strong, I think, because that's how people know about you. I follow some accounts, might never go there, but like their social's funny, you know, or they're like they do a good job with. And sometimes for me, I have two sides of it, where I think of it as it's research for me and my line of work, and kind of just seeing what people are doing. So yeah, I think that the biggest challenge is standing out and effective communication, visual communication, and how you get your message across to your audience.
Yeah. You wouldn't say it's something like pricing?
Honestly, no. I think that the only time pricing will sway people one way or the other is when, like I said, if you're not listening to your people and your core clientele and the people that are like keeping your lights on, and their experience starts to like just
deteriorate.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only time where they're like, well, why am I paying?
Yeah.
You know, what am I here for? So they're gonna, it'll then be easy to move on and look for the next new place because there are so many. But again, when things are kind of keeping them locked in, I think that health, wellness, you know, like fitness, going to these classes, it is an investment, and it is a bit of a luxury, but I think like people are willing to spend it if, you know, it makes them happy, it makes them feel good. You know, they'd probably spend money on a gym membership anyway, but then most people don't like commercial gyms, and they don't know what to do when they get in there. So they know even if they tried to force themselves out of like an expensive boutique studio and they're like, oh, let me just go to the gym, they're not going to stick to it. So I think like, yeah, pricing, of course it's important, but you have a lot of situations where clients are like, oh God, it's so expensive, and they keep raising prices, but I still keep giving you my money. Like they only find trouble parting ways with their money when, you know, it starts to not feel worth it anymore. And a number of things can play into why that's happening.
Right. And I think that you may have some I guess customer base that is price sensitive, but most people are willing to invest in a community, in a specific lifestyle, right? They're willing to pay that premium
100%.
to be part of, you know, something.
Part of that is just the population here, and you know, if you look at the demographics and like the socioeconomic status of the population of Dubai, they, you know, they make a certain amount, and they have a little bit of, some have more than others obviously, but like they have that disposable income to invest in, you know, these little, what do they call it? Like the little treat of the day, the little sweet treat. It's like a trend in 2024. Like, you know, everything's gone up. Pricing of everything has gone up. Rent's gone up. Petrol's gone up. Like everything. And, you know, even with all of that, people are still buying like 50 dirham matchas, you know, and there's like, it's just kind of one of those things that they're willing to part ways with their money for because it makes them happy. Right. And because fitness studios and concepts will offer the social aspect of it as well, it's easier to justify. Right.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And what would you say smaller fitness brands or solo instructors, and I really like the topic of solo instructors, can compete with larger, more well-funded advertisers or players in this space?
I think, to be honest, homegrown brands actually do quite well, and I think people are always very supportive and very curious, and they want to go, they want to see. I don't think that a brand name itself can carry, or like it. Of course, it holds weight, but it's not enough to deter people from trying other places. And I saw this a lot post-COVID when, when we reopened, studios were at like reduced capacity, and their favorite classes or their usual places were filling up quicker because, they're running at like 50% or whatever the requirements were. And so they were kind of forced to branch out and try new places. And, it worked. It worked in the favor of smaller brands, I think, because they got exposure from a client base or from an audience that they maybe normally wouldn't have. And so, yeah, I think, again, it just comes down to your messaging and how you get across to these people, how you foster community, and location.
Location.
Yeah, like if you have all of that and you're convenient and people don't have to sit in 45 minutes of traffic just to get to you, you're winning. I think nowadays location is, probably number one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So within that location, this is basically your playing field.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
This would determine then who you're competing with.
Yeah.
And how good you need to be, when it comes to community.
Yeah, and how you capture the surrounding areas and the immediate kind of the building that you're in, or is it residential or their offices? Like, you have to talk to these people. Right. Otherwise, you're missing out on such a huge, clientele. Like, you're missing out on growth, essentially, if you're not capitalizing on where you are. Okay.
What would you say is a maybe a good technique to capitalize on where you are, to speak to these neighboring, I think, communities? Or
well, each building or developer is going to have their own rules, right?
Yeah.
And how you advertise, and there's obviously going to be a cost associated with that. But also just talking to the people that are coming in, again, making it not transactional. People want to feel special and asked about, and they want their instructors and the people at the front desk to know their names. And it's insane how positively people respond to you just knowing their name. Like they kind of light up for a second. And, they want you to ask about where they work and what they do. They want you to care, ultimately. And so, offering a corporate deal for these places, or going to the building management and saying, we want to offer XYZ to your offices or to your residents. It's not hard.
It's just knocking.
You just have to physically go and do it and make the effort to make these meetings happen and to get it done.
Right. What would you say is good advice for solo instructors or these or personal trainers, PTs?
Yeah.
Right, to help them stand out.
So with instructors, it's I guess instructors kind of will always work for a studio or several studios, and I think, like I said, knowing who your people are, who's coming to your classes, creating that human connection, and talking to them outside of class, outside the context of the studio and fitness. And studios now I'm seeing so many places do brunches and inviting their kind of VIPs, or opening. Sometimes it's an open invite to anyone who wants to join, and building that bridge between customer and instructor or studio in general. I think that people want that. They want to know. They want to know who's behind the brand. They want to know who's I love this instructor, and I love this class. But it sparks a curiosity that they want to be your friend as well. Sometimes, at least, that's from my experience. And
and you should capitalize on it, I suppose.
Yeah, of course, because again, you want to. And I'm not saying do it disingenuously or do it in a way that's forced, but like you want people to be locked in. You want them to keep coming back. And partially for selfish reasons, you want your classes to be busy and vibey and fun, but also you like, as a coach, you should also be caring about their experience and well-being, and the experience they're getting in the class and the workout they're getting, how they feel after. You want to be a part of why they feel good. So I think, what was the question?
build that connection. What's your advice for solo instructors? And I think you said it, which is trying to
talk to them more.
Talk to your customers, just build that connection.
With personal trainers, I think it's different. You have to be a bit more salesy and like, show yourself more and what you do and your routine and what you eat, what I eat in a day, these kinds of videos and stuff. Like you have to kind of, but like with instructors, with group fitness, I mean, you're teaching several people at the same time.
I feel like it's easier because you have your customers are there already, and you can just talk to them, right, and build that connection.
Mm-hmm. And it's so easy. They tell us, with different studios I've worked with, like, find them on Instagram, find your clients. Like, if you have a regular who's been coming for 6 months, whatever, find them, follow them. Like, don't be creepy, but like, follow them, create that, like, to open that door to having conversation and to having, some form of a like relationship, I guess, outside of like instructor client. Like, you want to strengthen those relationships and make them feel like that's part of making them feel like they're a part of something. That there's a genuine connection, right? They feel noticed, they feel seen. Oh, my instructor followed me. Like, it's I think something that people appreciate. If there's no human connection, it doesn't feel genuine. Right? It just feels transactional, and
it feels transactional.
People feel that they'll eventually part ways and go somewhere else where they feel like they get bored. They might love the workout, but it won't be enough to keep them. And I feel like for solo instructors or instructors, they could benefit from the studio's presence on social. But for PTs, I'm interested to know how it works for PTs, because I do see many PTs coming into Dubai and settling in and working and living as a PT. And I feel like there's a big opportunity there to build a career, being a PT. But I do think there are challenges as well. And I do think it's very competitive. Definitely.
And one of the things that you mentioned, I guess, would work for a PT to get some exposure is to post videos about what they eat, how they train, I suppose. Are there any other like do's and don'ts you would say for
with
a PT to follow?
It's tricky because it also will depend if you're a freelancer or if you're working with like a commercial gym. And I was a PT for a bit. And when I first kind of left corporate life, when I first moved here, I was working in like advertising agencies that I like hated. And I was like, you know what, I always wanted to be a PT, but I was worried about the perception of like, culturally how it is, like, oh, you went to grad school just to be a PT. Like there's a stigma around it, unfortunately. And I got to a point where I didn't care anymore. And I was like, let me like do kind of fitness full time. And this was just before I started to take on like marketing roles as well. So PTing it's a lot of word of mouth, but it's so unstable. Like 1 month you're doing amazing, and then the next month when people want to save money, you're the first thing to go. Like, you're the luxury that they won't always see the value in. And that's just the hard truth. Or like, of course, being in Dubai, people travel every other week. And so their sessions take ages it stops making sense for you, because now a monthly package of X amount is dragged over into 2 months. And you can't always be super strict, like, oh, well, your session's expired, sorry. commercial gyms can get away with that, but freelancers like can't. You're gonna probably like fight with the person. So like standing out as a PT, I think is very hard. There's so many, and it's hard to make content that also stands out, because how many What I Eat in a Days can you really watch? And like I think that comes down to word of mouth, and how does word of mouth travel? If you're doing a good job, you care about your clients. You're not just, you're not on your phone during the sessions. Like, yeah, I think it's hard to stand out, but it's not impossible. And you have to just know your people and be open to the referrals, and be flexible. It's a hard job. Like you have to really like, you don't have a lot of freedom. Like maybe you can set, okay, I don't train from 6 a.m. I don't start my day till 8 or whatever. Like you have a bit of freedom in that respect, but you are tied down to the schedules of your clients, and you have to cater to it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably also like delivering results to your clients. And,
of course.
And you would need to build a connection with your client and to care for them, and to a point where they feel empowered, and they actually train hard enough to then maybe reach their goals, right? Whether it's fitness goals or other lifestyle goals.
Yeah.
And I think that then would probably drive the word of mouth, right? Because ultimately, when it comes to social media, I agree with you. It's very similar, like what you see from different PTs and what they post. Yeah, like how many, What I Eat videos can you watch? And
not even just that, like there's so much free content that's already out there, and like there's big like celebrity PTs that sell their programs for much cheaper than what you would pay an in-person PT here. But I think people still mostly will prefer like someone in person and someone to just tell them what to do. But yeah, it's like it's hard to stand out and to like kind of make a name for yourself in such a saturated industry.
Yeah. Let's just end with a couple of final thoughts, or a rapid fire questions. Just a couple. Okay. Your go-to marketing tactic, just in a few words.
Collaborations and events.
Best fitness trend of 2024.
Events, like influencer events.
Influencer events.
Yeah.
Okay. What's an influencer event?
Like, for example, inviting top 10 like influencers or top clients, I guess I would say. Maybe not always all influencers, but people who frequent your studio a lot, and like they basically create, they invite you to like a holiday party, for example, and they do like, they make it a very Instagrammable event. They give you like a gift bag and just stuff that you can, it's basically free marketing. You might have spent money on the goodie bag and on the event and on the setup, but ultimately like the content that you get after that and the exposure, and everyone there is going to be tagging you, and it's the return on that is always very positive.
Right.
And again, the FOMO exclusivity factor as well.
Yeah. And last one, dream client to work with in the fitness world. Describe a dream client, I suppose.
So,
or you can name maybe a celebrity. I'm not sure.
I would honestly love to get into like athleisure, like fashion in a way. I mainly work with like fitness brands and fitness studios, and I want to tap into like F&B and fashion a bit. And I would love to work with Nike or this brand that's based in Australia that I love called CSB. And I think that there's so much, like there's so much you can do and so much you can play with that type of content, and making it relevant to, like, you can draw so many parallels and so many cool collaborations all under the umbrella of fitness, wellness, health. So yeah, I think it would be great to get into. That's definitely dreaming big.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, doesn't hurt to dream big.
Yeah.
Thanks, Huda. Appreciate it.
Thank you so
for
much.
coming on the show.
Of course.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.